Hi, welcome back to just another episode of Just My Opinion. Before we start, I want to go to this. Okay, now let's move on to the. Now, since we did that, let's move on to the movie. So, here's the movie I decided to pick this week. The internet knows why. Because it's a very, it's not a great film by any means. There's a couple things I will get to. I will get to what's good about it. I will. Um, this film is a very media friendly film, is what I mean. Like, it's a very media will love it. Like preferred critics from media will love it. Media people in general will like it, but like audiences won't really. That's what I'm gonna say there. So this is about the president saving everybody in G20 from basically Hans Gruber from Die Hard, and it's basically Olympus has fallen and White House down, but with a black female president, or I guess in White House Down's case, just a female one. So here we have. This film is very not just media loved. This film is a clear and obvious historical fiction, is what I'll call it. It's fan fiction for Hollywood, is what it is. You know how like people have fan fiction in comics? Well, this is Hollywood's fan fiction for real world events that happened in the world. Yeah. So let's start with the general most of the plot here. So she's the president. It's very clear. There's a lot of buzzword moments, I'll say. A lot of moments that are clearly there just because the real life version did it. Or you remember when this guy said this on that interview that time? It's like it's so obviously mostly that. And when we get to the best part of the movie, I would have to say, and I'm surprised I'm saying this, is the guy who played Homelander in The Boys in this. He is the only character in this film. There's something they do with another character later that's a little bit funny for different reasons, but I'll get to that. This Homelander guy, I did not like him in The Boys. I did not. I did not like him in a lot of things he was in. I didn't really like him in Banshee that much. I've only seen him in a couple things, and this is like only like the fourth or fifth thing I've seen him in. So maybe he'll be better now since he has this to. If I had to say peak, I would say this because how everybody said Hans Gruber was the best actor in the Die Hard. Because Bruce Willis was just kind of meh, but a lot of people say Hans Gruber was the one that acted well. That's the same kind of thing here. Like, she's not bad, okay? She's not a bad casting for the role they picked. She's not that bad, okay? Like you could have gone worse. You could have gone dumber. She plays the part well of the military female who is now a president who has a family. And you can clearly tell the reason for this film was made very clear from moment one to the final end credit scenes. It's very made clear, like I said, it's a fan fiction for Hollywood of real world events is all I'll say. So back to the Homelander guy. So Homelander guy plays Hans Gruber esque, but only if he's like more of a soldier type. I guess he's more like the villain from White House Down in that he's more of just like an ex-government guy who has now decided to. He's basically Ed Harris from The Rock, but with an accent, basically, and except without the part of without the part of his plan. He's basically Ed Harris from The Rock, James Woods from the White House Down. If you mix them together and made them Australian, is basically the best way I can describe his character. He has a plan here that I think I'm gonna say I think should have been a movie in itself. Okay, I think his plan is basically he wants to kind of just deep fake all the like world leaders at the G20 to have them, do stuff with stocks or whatever and say they're moving their money over here when really they're not, that whole thing. And I think if you did this like Law Abiding Citizen, the movie Law Abiding Citizen, where Homelander here was the villain, like if you put him in the Gerard Butler role of that movie and you make instead of that movie where it was about just a guy mad at the state government for whatever for letting the guy who killed his wife go. You have where Homelander should stay the character he is. He's the soldier who's been wronged by the governments of the world and stuff. You can still keep him the same way. I think he should have done the law-abiding citizen thing where he has like it's only him and her. Like it's not. You can still have her in charge. You can still have her as the president. I think you can still have her in charge. She can be like the president still, but you have this kind of war between her trying to bring the country together. Sorry, technical difficulties. We all have them. And you have her trying to bring the country together, and you have him creating deep fakes all over the place, essentially causing the mass amount of, just like the guy in the movie I just said. He should have been the Gerard Butler from that one, where he basically just causes chaos. He's trying to show how corrupt they are, and then he like you can even like have where he's like deep faking like a bunch of like high profile like people and different things like that itself. I think the deep fake plot itself and the way they did it where he was wronged and he's doing this and he plays it off like it's a patriotic thing when really he's just doing it for the Bitcoin. That would have all worked if it wasn't trapped in this movie. If you allowed it to be its own thriller type film, you could have had like an Enemy of the State type thing from that movie, Enemy of the State. You could have had that, and it would have really worked. It would have, I think it would have really worked. It's one of his best roles. No, actually, no. It's the best role he's had. He's one of the best. He's the best part. The critics who say he's the best part are right. They are 100% right. And then we get to this guy. He is the Secret Service guy for her. He does the usual thing you'd expect. Like he trains with her to fight. And that's only there so that she's a good fighter later. His undyingness to her is a little cartoony at times. Like he's like bleeding out because he took a bullet for her. And he decides to hop out of the limo while bleeding out, barely able to stand, and he decides, I'm going to stand with her, and I'm going to fight with her. But the problem is that in that situation they're in, she can't be kind of carrying the guy all over the complex. She can't be, carrying the guy all over the place. She has to kind of just keep it on she has to be able to move around without having to carry him all over. And he basically disappears for the chunk anyway. Like he's basically, even though the movie treats him like he's like her Robin, he does disappear at a point, and it just kind of is like, okay. They treat it like she's saying goodbye to him for the final time, like he's going to die after this, but no, he doesn't. He just kind of, even though he's bleeding to death, and all the villains know where the power. So basically what he does is he goes into the room that controls the electricity of that complex, and he basically turns off the lights to create a distraction for her. Now, they know the layout of this place, so they know exactly where that utility box is. So it's kind of set up like he's basically sacrificing himself, because once he turns it off, they'll know where he is. It doesn't happen. You don't see it, and they just kind of cut to him being better. So, okay. And again, I'm sure the guy who's bleeding to death, bleeding out in the utility room, I'm sure is going to be completely fine, even though medical. Again, don't race to the guy who's bleeding to death. Race to the guys that are completely fine when it comes to that. So that's his character. He has a lot of the Secret Service stuff you'd expect from him. Another character that's paint by numbers is here. Clark Gregg plays the vice president. Again, like I said with Hollywood fan fiction of real life events, there was a guy. He was kind of important to political events in late year of 2024, and he was right behind who Viola, who the president in this was. So again, that's all I'm gonna say about it. That's who he is. It's not. I don't know. He's only there just to be that. He's only there just to be because I guess a tiny bit looks like him. So it's like, okay, we'll put him in there. That's fine. This lady, if you don't see a clear caricature of, again, another person who is supposed to be in the group of that person that the female president's supposed to be in this, that ran for president herself before her, then and there's a meme around her, if you remember. I'm not going to say it because I want this thing to be posted, but you know the meme, and they actually do the meme is all I'm going to say. The meme they actually do in this. So it's, if you're one of those people that are looking for like political points and oh, we got 1 point or we got 1 point, well, I guess you could put a point that they acknowledge the meme, I guess, but I don't know. It's that's her thing. This guy here, he's the British prime minister in this. He's the comic relief, but he's not funny. That's the thing. He's the comic relief, but he's not funny. He's just supposed to be like, I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't know. Basically, his whole thing is just to be how amazing the female president is in this, because he starts out being, I don't really trust her, I don't like her, to, you're Captain America, lady. You're like a female Captain America. I mean, I can't imagine, anybody better than you. Watch the movie. Tell me that does. And you all saw the trailer, so you know he said that. I might not have heard it in the movie, but he said it in the trailer. So it was originally supposed to be in the film. So yeah, so that's his whole thing. He's not really that important you could cut him out. Like, here's the thing. She runs around with these group of prime ministers. I guess supposed to be like one from Mexico or something, I guess, and the other one from another country. I don't really feel like Googling it. But yeah, they're not needed really. There's kind of a thing with like one of them that their husband gets injured severely by Homelander. So they basically she has her moment where she stabs Homelander because her husband. There's a whole, there you had that was that whole thing. That was the whole reason she was put in. It was just so they can have that was her whole thread. And her husband figures out the deep fake thing very quickly, and then gets injured because of it. He doesn't die, he just gets injured because of it. So there's a lot of. And then we have her husband here, played by Anthony Anderson. He's fine. He's totally passable for the thing they gave, for the role he's given, where he's basically supposed to be husband. Fine, not the worst husband. He's not. What I'm gonna say is, he's not realistic to who the character of president is supposed to be in this. He's not realistic to real life version, but I see they wanted to not really connect it. But yet every sentence in the show every sentence in the movie is basically like, hey, you know that thing that happened in November? Anyway, so this is basically, I would say Olympus Has Fallen that's there, but I'm sorry, I think this is more White House Down, and that it's a carbon copy of Olympus Has Fallen. That's basically just all the points you'd expect. It hits all the points of like this Secret Service guy that does he even get a line before he's a villain? Like I'm asking, does he even? I watched the movie. I don't even remember. That's the thing. Is that like it's like he doesn't even. I don't even think he gets a line before he just is made the villain. So he's only there to be the villain, and you know that. So yeah, so very quickly oh he's the one like in Olympus Has Fallen where he's the one that works with them. Okay, and then you got to have that one, and then she's only here again. What I said earlier, and she's only here for because Olympus Has Fallen. One of the Fallens or White House Down or one of them had where I think it was White House Down had where one of the staff was working with them. So that's the only reason she's here is that, and besides the memes I said earlier, besides the things that happen with the memes. And again, they make it very clear she is like you think okay maybe it's not, maybe it's just a staff member. They make it very clear later in the thing to make it very clear. So basically, she goes to G20 planning this. I don't even remember what her plan was. Something about like we can all come together and make a better world or something. Again, even the movie doesn't really care that much. It just kind of wants to get to the action, which is smart because you don't really want to spend that much time on. It has the action. It's not believable because they're doing that thing where like a guy who's like Dwayne Johnson is being pulled down by somebody that like has the like Melissa McCarthy like being able to hold Dwayne Johnson in a chokehold and stuff. Like that's the thing. Like being able to like they do a lot of that, the forced perspective stuff that kind of is there to make her look better. This is a film that exists for that too. There's this whole thing with heels. She keeps saying the heels. The heels, all the heels. If only I didn't have to see those heels again. Anyway, so they again, I was more interested in what was happening with Homelander and the world leaders in the other room, but again, we couldn't dare focus on what. Again, I'm not the only one. I've seen other reviews that are like Homelander's the best part. So so again, it's like so again, if the audience is all saying Homelander, Homelander, then maybe you should give them more Homelander. I don't know. So anyway, I know it's her film, and I know why it's her film. So again, not a lot happens besides they do the thing from White House Down. They do the thing from White House Down. Because again, I would say Olympus Has Fallen, but White House Down is closer because it's not as great. So yeah, it does basically more of a Die Hard thing, and like she's doing all the shooting and killing and all the and all the shooting and killing of this guy, and they give the Secret Service guy a moment where he kills the other Secret Service guy that betrayed her. But again, since you didn't do you even know his name? Do you even care what his name is? Like when you're watching it by then, you're like, my gosh, let's say his name's Carl for a second. My gosh, Carl. I really care about Carl right there. Yeah, Carl's the one I'm invested in. What's gonna happen to Carl? So anyway, the daughter is, the daughter, the president's daughter. You've seen it before. The rebellious president's daughter that's amazing at everything. Because she's the president's daughter, so she has to be amazing at everything. And the whole thing is basically is put on basically. Homelander needs, the female president to deepfake in order to do it. Again, I don't know if they need them there to do the deep faking or not, or if they could just, I don't know. Again, I don't even think the movie really knows if that process is real, how that process works or not. It feels like they just kind of heard the word deep fake in an article once and was like, ah. So yeah, so Yeah, so he's basically chasing her, all the people, the thing like Die Hard. She just goes through every room, she kills people. There's a whole thing with a helicopter where at the end where Homelander needs the Bitcoin decoder thing. Again, you can tell I'm a guy that's really into all that stuff, can't you? Um, anyway, by how I don't even know the terms, but for like the Bitcoin thing or something. So the Bitcoin thing, he needs to, he needs in order to make money from this. She has it. She does the thing where she throws it off the cliff, and then it's gone. And then he screams, tries to shoot at her, tries to kill her daughter. Then the helicopter ends up flying a little bit. He jumps on it. It ends up crashing on the cliff, but just barely hanging on. You know that action movie thing, just barely hanging on. And while this is happening, by the way, the daughter was able to turn off the security long enough to allow the world's militaries in to break in and stop the terrorists from inside. So that happens. Anyway, so then Homelander has the whole moment where he's about to shoot the daughter, and then he gets his. They don't let him have a full moment from Die Hard where the bad guy falls to his death, but he basically does the same thing. He falls and dies. The end, and then they're both holding each other like. There's a moment where it's like, I don't know if she made it. It's like, oh, I'm sure she didn't. I'm sure this film had her fall off, and it's just like, what a surprise, she's okay. So then there's the helicopter's hanging and they're about to fall off, and then thank God all the world's militaries knew that they would need to hold back that helicopter. Good thing when they were told go up to the roof for the helicopter. Good thing they did. They had all the equipment ready to stabilize the thing and everything. Anyway, so yeah, so there's a lot of, and then and then it should end there, but it doesn't really. It ends with the whole world being like, bravo, bravo, madam, bravo. You're amazing. Let's even frame the dress and the shoes you were wearing. Watch the movie. It happens. Let's frame them in the White House, just so. Again, that's not an ego thing at all. But anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of, and then they keep doing basically the whole end credit scene is just praise her, see her as the greatest of all greats. Who will ever know? I don't know. Anyway, so this movie isn't. My synopsis of the thing is it's not a great film. It keeps your interest at times, but it's very clear why it was made. It's clear why the choices were made. And again, Homelander needed to be in his own law-abiding citizen type movie. He needed to be in his own law-abiding citizen type movie. You can keep all the deep fake stuff. You can keep the female president. You just needed to completely restructure it. Instead of it being discount White House down, it should have been that one. Just saying. That would have made the film completely better. It would have, and you honestly could have gotten a film with that. You could have gotten this really great like think piece or something about like who's on what side, who's on that side. Like you could have had this really great like maybe like a really cultural film if you really did it well about like the like the implications with deepfake and how that implicates world and all that, and how one guy with a laptop kind of can like in The Boys. There's this line where the hipster girl says, like with a laptop I can do more than you with an entire marketing campaign. I think that should have been a thing, and I think if the guy who plays Homelander brings just a little bit of this energy into Homelander and drops all the perversion and weirdness and all that weirdness. And again, right, some people would say that's what makes him good. I don't think so. I think that's what annoys me about him. That's why he's closer to Soldier Boy from The Boys in this, and I think he needed to be. I think it's perfect for it, and it shows that he can do it. So come on, dude. Let's work. Let's work on this. Let's keep this let's keep this tone that you have, and let's keep doing movies where you're clearly the one that the internet likes more. Even though, again, you're supposed to be memeing her, you're supposed to be loving her. Clearly, the internet has a favorite, and it's not her. So overall, it's not a great film. And again, for the fan fiction part, again, Google Google late 2024 and see how connected it is. Anyway, that's all. That's all I'm gonna say, so the video can stay monetized. So yeah, so it's a good film, kind of at parts. Like when it's Homelander, it's good. I kind of did like what they did with that other lady that I showed earlier. I did kind of like it. Again, not gonna say what it is, but you all know. But other than that, there's not a lot. There's not a lot. There's not a lot here because again, it's mostly just her being this incredible soldier, and there's this thing around like a picture she took with a kid that like everybody called it like a photo op moment for president, which again is not wrong. It's not wrong that like as a soldier when like she purposely poses with the kid in her arms, like it's not she's not wrong in that's not a thing, in that's like everybody's saying it isn't wrong, that it's just being used to make her like, oh, look at this type thing, like, she has a whole moment. She tells war stories to the guy and to the prime minister guy, and there's this whole thing with her limo where they basically try to trick you. We all know she's not in the limo, okay? At that moment, we all know she's not in the limo. You saw she wasn't in the limo earlier. You even showed the British prime minister one driving the limo. And somehow, and the other female prime minister, because there's one that chased after Homelander, like I said, and the other one is in the car. It's not her. They're trying to race to the thing, and they're treating it like it's like, oh my gosh, all is lost. And I do have to say, the plot armor on these people. I mean, my gosh, man, the plot armor on these people. Like when the writers feel like it, they could survive like rockets straight to their car, blowing it up in a blaze and flipping it over, and then they're just like, what'd I miss? It's like, okay. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of like, shouldn't they kind of be like beaten there? Shouldn't they be? But again, I know it's one of those films that they kind of just. You're just not supposed to think about that. But again, when the film's not that great, you do think about it. When the film's like really great and you really are invested in like the action and stuff, you're like, yeah, I can turn my brain off on how dumb that is. But if it's a film that's not that great, you notice it more. Oh yeah, and there are these two. I kind of forgot about them because they only appeared in like the last like 10, 20 minutes of the movie. There's this wait staff too that turned out to be like, I guess, Secret Service of another country. I didn't really listen to what country it was because I was busy writing notes for this, so I guess I missed that part. That's, I don't know. They're good. They're only there because she can't be everywhere. They know that. They know that the female president can't be across the complex and with Homelander here and with them there. So they're basically just to kind of be like, we know she can't be with right next to her kids because then Homelander will see her, so she has to kind of. So these two are basically just pseudo Secret Service. If you just made them Secret Service people and just like, instead of doing the wait staff thing and saying we were actually Secret Service the whole time, if we had just done Secret Service and cut out the wait staff, same thing would have done. Same exact thing. The Secret Service could have been hiding in the kitchen. During the thing, it could have happened. So so it's very generic, very White House down, and anybody who watched that movie knows exactly what I mean. It's just so cliche. Trying just it's just doing everything, and then again, if it wasn't wrapped